Hey, it's Mike. Here's a question for you. How many times do you Google something and only make it down to like the bottom of page 1 or maybe the top half of page 2 before you give up and you try to use different keywords or like a different order to find what you want? I do this all the time, personally, because in my mind, somebody somewhere has already aggregated the data that I need in one place, so I don't need to look around for all the data. I just need to find that one page where everything I need is. And it's for this reason, that I really like this section in the New Testament in Matthew 5 to 7 called the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus did a lot of teaching to a lot of people in a lot of places. And throughout the New Testament, we read all about it. But I think if Jesus was going to put together a greatest hits tape, or I guess today it would be like a Spotify playlist, he probably would have included this. Okay, you know what? Sorry, old guy rant here for 1 second. Do you know how hard we had to work to make a mixtape? We had to listen to the radio. We had to press record on our cassette tapes, and then at just the right time, we had to press record on the second tape to record onto the mixtape. And if you started too early, you caught the commercials or the radio DJ, and if you ran too late, you got like 3 seconds of the next song, which just in your brain becomes a part of that song, and it was a mess. It was wild. And don't even get me started on what happened when your Walkman ate your cassette. You guys want to talk about getting salty? You have no idea. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, so if Jesus was to put out a greatest hits album, I think a huge chunk of it would be from the Sermon on the Mount. Almost all the teaching is easy to read, it's practical, it's easy to remember, and for the most part, it's easy to understand. So for the next few weeks, we're going to start going through Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. But before we do that, I want you to pause this video for just a few minutes and talk to your small group, the people around you, about what would be on your greatest hits tape. So if you had to put together a playlist of the most important things you wanted to teach other people about, what would be on that list? So I guess I'm not sure of all of mine, but I do know don't take the Leafs in Game 7 against the Bruins would definitely be on that list.
Trying to hit Brad Marchand. Here's Bergeron with a shot. Rebound is loose. Sagan can't get it. Score! Brad Marchand!
So chat together and then come back when you're done, and I will be waiting here for you. Okay, so from Matthew's chapter 1 to 4, we see the beginning of Jesus' ministry. We see the birth of Jesus and how he survived those trying to find him in the early chapters of 1 and 2. Then we see his baptism in chapter 3. In chapter 4, we see his temptation in the beginning of his ministry and the calling of his disciples. So now I'd like you to pause this video again, and as a group, I want you to read Matthew chapter 4, verses 12 to 25. Just before the Sermon on the Mount. And once you're done reading, answer these two questions. One, who is someone online that you're following now? Maybe this is a sports figure or an actress or an influencer, and why do you follow them? And two, what would they need to do to make you follow them on foot from city to city? Pause now, and I'll wait. Okay. So we know that Jesus is already teaching for some time, and that by the time he went up to the mountain in Matthew chapter 5, people were already waiting for him to teach him something impactful. So Jesus begins an extended teaching time that we call the Sermon on the Mount. Now, we're not going to get into it too much deeper today, but I do want to tee up what's happening next week. So that's when we'll really start going through everything, including the set of statements called the Beatitudes. So now, I don't just want to tell you about what they all are. I think maybe it's better if you sort of look it up. So take a few minutes as a group to discover what the Beatitudes are and what they mean, and then come back and we'll finish this video off for this week. So by now, you know that it comes from the Latin word beatus, meaning both happy and blessed. So that makes the Beatitudes a group of 8 blessings, all talking about different things. So before we go through each, of these over the next few weeks. What I'd like you to do in your small group is to complete this week's challenge. And what is this week's challenge? Well, I want you to count your blessings. And I actually want you to count them. I want you to do this all week, every day. So as a small group, you can decide together how you're going to do it. It could be a group chat that people add to, or a Google Doc you could create. You could make a giant list there. Maybe each person creates their own list on a notes app or your voice recording app. I don't care. However you choose to do it, I want you to count your blessings this week, because our world right now is a little bit upside down, but God is still blessing us, even when it doesn't feel like it. And so I'd like us to actively this week count our blessings and remember how God is being good to us. This might seem like a simple challenge or something a little bit like elementary, but believe me, everybody from kids to adults need to learn to do this a lot more. So spend some time for the rest of your small group time thinking about this and putting a plan together of how to count your blessings. Thanks for hanging in this week. We'll talk to you again next week when we start digging into the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes.